going to do right now is we're going to walk up the street. I hope that I have enough memory to do this. We're just going to, I'm going to might cut over to some side streets, actually, as well in this process. And I want you to analyze. They actually think right now, these individuals preying on me, they think that I've lost my folder. My folder with all my information in it. So therefore they feel that they're in the power position and they're going to try to associate this predatory behavior even more so at this point. So up here I think I'm going to go down some side streets and you're just going to notice kind of how they're acting right now. They're adjusting. There's some cars here, so I'm gonna, it's Saturday too, so actually walking up the sidewalk will be better if I'm on a side street. We can analyze through all of these that so to reiterate, a good argument that I could make as part of my hypothesis is that in that of these similarities and differences between Homo sapiens and pan-troglodytes, or chimpanzees, and their predatory behavior, is that well, and again, they're not really, these humans that I'm seeing aren't really helping me prove it, because they're actually helping me compare the similarities, because it is so heavily based on redundant, pretty much repeated things, actions. That's a separate argument altogether. If they have objectified me, if I've become some kind of sexual object in their heads, or object in particular, is a different story altogether. That's a complete different argument. You notice some of these archetypes. You notice them and see how often they appear. Now, the two archetypes that are trying to manipulate me are being utilized within the form of individuals, within the form of people. They're trying to be or manipulate me the most are the archetypes of my father and of this guy I worked with, JD, who liked me a lot. He lost his job because of me, because I had a brain injury, and I lied to all my coworkers and stuff, and he's such a good guy that he he lost a lot because of me. And which is really, really horrible on my part. And of course he gifted me the other opportunity, because the only reason that I'm able to think straight really is because he completely broke my brain damaged, emotional, and communicative pattern of issues. But that's on a personal level. Somehow because of this brain injury and the things that it caused me to do, I had severe communicative and emotional issues. This came from a pilocytic astrocytoma, gave me brain diseases and stuff too, like hydrocephalus. Basically, I didn't stand for anything, so I would fall for anything. You know, that old cliched saying is really true. It's very, very true. So this was manifested, to be honest, primarily through sex. So I just slept with everybody. Like, I didn't really have any kind of standard or anything. So that exposed me oftentimes that, you know, I'm not saying that this is the number, because it doesn't have to do with this study of it, but about 99% of those guys, say 99 out of 100, were completely sane. One of them wasn't. Some kind of weird thing where you can manipulate archetypes. Now, I don't have the evidence that this individual's behind it. It's irrelevant to the experiment, because he views himself as, it seems to be associated with simply visual archetyping. So this individual manifesting this does not play a role into this kind of manipulation game that he's playing. We're simply going to refer to that individual as Alpha 1, because these people do view him as their alpha. But my question is to why? And I've garnered very little information on this through my research so far. But I can tell you that this heavy emphasis, I have identified a visual of who they were. They will often honor as an alpha, which matches his. And with this, I can, with manipulating people with the visual, they want to manipulate my emotions with the idea of, they want to get me, in other words, they want to conduct predatory behaviors on me by manipulating me with archetypes. Of course, they're not conducting it, they're being controlled. But that's beside the point. They are serving an alpha, which is also part of the argument. They're doing this either for sexual acquisition or monetary acquisition, which this alpha promises them. If they do this. I know that these things go on, and I do have some information. It's just a matter of actually getting that information onto paper from these, if not these sources, then those that think the way that they do. And so far, it's only aligned with emotional manipulation, the results that I have gotten. So I cannot connect the factors of an alpha promising sex or promising money to those who also wish to work their way up in the hierarchy. but I have been able to connect to the emotional mechanism of it through results that they've given me. In other words, that this individual does specifically channel them to preying on me to manipulate my emotions. That, in other words, if I see this archetype, if I see somebody that looks like JD, that I will sleep with him or something, and in this process, he will hurt me. This archetype will hurt me because he's calling me names, or he's calling me a slut or something. And when that happens, that's when the alpha will show up. Until he'll be like the all-knowing individual, because he successfully manipulated all of these guys with the ideas of sex and money so that they will start to talk. This is precisely what happened with my old coworkers. He's isolated me completely, but he knows that he can manipulate, because of course you can get men to make anything about sex. So if you give men the promise of there's a girl that's a slut, they're going to do whatever you want them to do. They're going to do whatever you want them to do. He knows this. And so if they will stand around, and not only will they do everything he wants them to do, but with the way that the female psyche is, of possibly manipulating, having their emotions manipulated, he knows that he can convince a woman that all of these guys are against her. And when she's down, even though those guys just had their brains manipulated too, because they really did believe that she was promiscuous. As their alpha promised. But the alpha will show up when the woman is at her weakest point. When she feels that everyone is against her, and offer her the idea of sex when she's at her lowest emotional point, and therefore the most vulnerable. So this predatory behavior is something that is vital in understanding this conquest of several facets of trying to acquire sex, but that sex can only be acquired, and for this individual to achieve further hierarchical position, if the mass is manipulated somehow, or the mass that he believes is connected to manipulating a source, which will place him even higher in the ranking. And the aspect of these individuals whom he manipulates believe that they can climb higher in the ranking by the ideas of money and sex, which are two prime defining factors of human hierarchies that are both similar and different from chimpanzees, because money simply exists for a hierarchical purpose. And of course, sex is a large means of reproduction the means of reproduction that is also associated in humans with power. And a chimpanzee that is the alpha has a better chance, or a chimpanzee that is higher up on the ranking of the chimp hierarchy is more likely to reproduce.